Welcome back to Pewdiepie. I'm Zui and I hope you enjoyed today's video. But before we get right into it, I'm obligated to remind you to click either the like or dislike button, commenting something down below, and of course sharing the video so more people can see and enjoy it. This is very important as it helps with the YouTube algorithm. I want you to know that your help is greatly appreciated. If you have any suggestions or ideas for a story, my Discord link is in my link tree that is down in the description, as well as my Patreon and Ko-fi for any donations you may want to send my way. Every cent counts. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video.
The screams of your brothers and sisters were echoing around you, like a choir of the damned incited by the sweet smell of blood and salty sweat. Your eyes shifted over to them. They look wild, eyes red from the power of the ritual, bodies thin and meek. Salvia flowing out of their mouths as they could feel the final moments of your opponent approach. Your gaze then shifted over to the lamb, your leader, your master. His fur kempt, white as snow, covering his muscular body. He was sitting atop a throne crafted from roots and bones, waiting for him to deliver his final judgment, the fate of your opponent hanging by a thread. You were a pig. Well, not anymore. The strange and wonderful magic of your master's crown had decided as such, twisting your form into what it was now. Like almost every member of the cult, you were a white bunny now. As you were disassociating from the events that were transpiring, you looked at your blood-stained paws. It had been tough adjusting to the fur, difficult to keep clean, too warm in summer, not to mention the increase in your libido you just somehow managed to keep under control, though it had its benefits. As a pig you had been slow, fat, gross and unmotivated. The need to feed having internalized by you. But now, you were lean, thin, almost muscular. And even though it might not be healthy for your mental health, it felt good to no longer be burdened by the body your parents had given you. You were a new person now. Hence why this had been so easy. You now looked up from your paw at the cultist before you. White fur, stained with blood, a simple loincloth covering their shame. Out of breath, rusty sword still in hand. But everyone could tell their time had come. The harvest had been bad this year. A plague brought forth by one of the bishops had ruined half of the plants, forcing food to be heavily rationed, and ritualistic fasts had almost become common. The lamb could fear the rising unrest, so they declared a ritualistic gladiatorial event would be happening. It rose his flock's morale, for the price of a few lives. You were among the combatants as well. Your ceremonial blade, rusty, stained by the blood from the people whose lives you had taken in the past hours. Just like your opponent, you're dressed in nothing but rags. Your voluptuous chest only barely contained by thin leather. No wonder its straps hadn't been cut yet. Your body was covered in both thin and deep cuts. You were breathing heavily, blood flowing out pretty much everywhere. Your heart pounded so fast and desperately it hurt. Your stomach revolted, both from the fast and the mental strain you're feeling in this moment. Yet, this was kind of exhilarating. The pain had given way to pleasure as your victories mounted. 2 men and 2 women already had surrendered their lives to your sword. Your opponent suddenly fell on one knee, his wounds no longer allowing him to continue. Dragging your blade over the sand-covered ground of the temple, you took a step forward. I looked up at you. Then at the lamb, who stood up from his throne. Gaze as cold as the night itself, that your lips betrayed them. You couldn't stop smiling. He raised his right hand to deliver the final judgment. And in that moment you noticed something. A strain in their smile, perhaps. Maybe you interpreted too much into it, but they seemed in pain. What was this? Was no one else noticing this? Once again you looked at your brothers and sisters, reduced to nothing but mere husks of violence. Clearly not. And then the lamb pointed down. Your opponent gasped, and half-heartedly chuckled as he rolled on his back. Weakly, so quiet only you could understand it by reading their lips, his mouth began to form words. Make it look as brilliant as our master. You stepped over them, blade raised to the sky, and then in one fell swoop you dragged the blade across their stomach and chest. Hot red liquid began to spew from their body like a fountain of madness, bleeding like a useless, grotesque pig, as he rammed the sword into the ground next to their head. Strange. You could have sworn you had aimed for their neck. Your eyes closed, and you fell backwards, too exhausted to stand. You didn't know what would happen to you now, as you drifted off into darkness. Maybe a new gladiator would come from the bowels of the temple and have an easy kill with you. Or maybe they just left you in the sand until you woke up. Didn't matter. As right now you felt weightless, drifting through sleep. When was the last time you had been so tired? Oh yes. It was when you built that tabernacle all by yourself. And what a beautiful tabernacle it was. Sure, it looked like the others as well, but you felt like yours was just a tiny bit more special than the others. Depending on what was not happening in the world of the living, you might never look upon your work again. You sighed. Yet no sound came from you. There was just silence. Probably thanks to the blackness surrounding you. Maybe you should just close your eyes. Sometime later, You couldn't quite tell how long you had been out cold. You felt the nothingness beneath your body be replaced by warmth and soft fuzz. Not that you minded. It felt good against your sore muscles. Oh, look. Oh, looks like you're awake. You haven't opened your eyes yet. Wait, that voice. You tried to lift your body, to look at the person speaking, but you were too tired to lift even a finger. The person chuckled. Oh, my poor child, the voice said. It sounded deep and all-knowing. It was the voice of your master. It comforted you. It would make you smile if you could. The noise indicated they sat down next to you, wherever you were. Their soft hand caressing your stomach. The fingers circling where your belly button was hidden by fur. You thought bravely, dear sister. He was praising you. The lamb was praising you. He had noticed your awakening by your change in breathing. It was more deliberate now, strained by your exhaustion and no longer peaceful at rest. You passed out in quite a dramatic way. His touches were invigorating and lewd. You wanted more. And the moral of my flock is in high spirits. His hands caressed your body now. And so am I, all thanks to you. A quiet gasp came from your mouth. It seemed even now, with the shape your body was in, it could not resist your master's skillful touches. I took it upon myself to treat you as a reward. His voice was almost a seductive whisper. After all, your wounds were plenty. He chuckled. In a strange way, this reminds me of how I found you. Bound, helpless, on a bloodied altar about to be sacrificed. And now, you felt his weight on top of you, his hands lighting up your body. And now you're here like an offering for me. His hand made its way to your face, cupping your cheek. And with his thumb he reached for your mouth, gently prying open your lips. His hands were shaved. No hair distracted you from the taste of his skin as your tongue touched his finger. Unintentionally you began sucking, your tongue gliding against his fingernail. With a loud pop he retreated his hand. Oh, no, my dear sister, don't get too full of yourself. The weight on you shifted as he adjusted himself. A click and the whoosh of cloth indicated that he had removed his cloak. Otherwise, this moment won't last for long. He licked his lips excitedly. And one